The rules are fairly simple today in that all the candidates here, and I know some have got titles and very impressive titles, but I think I'll call them Candidate Bingley and Candidate Lowe and whatever else for the sake of consistency. We'll be asking the candidates in alphabetical order, and that's how they're sitting now. There's no preferential treatment as far as the first speaker or the last speaker. Their proposed activities as a new member of the local council. Timekeeper will call in the 2 minutes. He'll ring a bell at 1 minute 30, just to make sure that you've got 30 seconds to go to wrap up. After that time, there'll be 3 minutes of questions. Now, this is the important part from our point of view, is that these questions must be general in nature. As I say, if the questions from the floor are in any way inflammatory, they'll be called out and not allowed to be put. So this activity today is to make sure that everyone understands that we're in this community together. The comments must show respect, cooperation, and trust in everybody. We're looking to the future, not the past.
I'll ring it again when you've got 30 seconds left. And go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Lucky Phil gets to go first. I'm just a typical bloke. I work within my family business, predominantly in residential scenes, so I go to a lot of people's houses. I meet a lot of people and I get to discuss a lot of things with people as well. Predominantly in the valley, I think we need to look for the future, and that's why I want to run. I want to be involved with the community, bring some more community into the council rather than the council just letting the community do its thing and telling them what has to happen, or, you know. I think we're in an impasse. We need to do more to be better as a community and better as a council. And I don't know any other better way than to run myself. At this stage, there's a lot of choice, a lot of different perspectives, and I hope that people can appreciate mine for what it is, and it's just purely community, be pragmatic, just have a bit of gumption, some guts to follow through with things. I don't think there's enough of that. People kind of just play along politically and, you know, talk and talk and talk, and not much really gets done. So that's pretty much it for me, I think. I just hope that we end up with a council we deserve and a community we deserve. I think that's really important, and we'll see what happens at the end of this election. So I think I'll just leave that there.
Questions of the floor? Questions?
Anyone want to be lucky first?
Can I just, when you do ask a question, could you just stand up and introduce yourself? That'd be nice.
And so the statement is elected representatives of our community should have a high degree of integrity. Please describe the personal attributes you possess that fit this requirement.
Well, I'm within my family business. I do every job for the business. So if I don't show up, nothing gets done. My family relies heavily on that. I'm trusted by the people I work in their houses. A lot of them aren't even home or can be home, so when you're in someone's house especially, I mean, they trust you with everything they've got. And I think it's really important that you trust them. They have the trust in you to do the right thing, and I think the same can be said for council, that the community trusts you with your integrity and just to do the right thing. You know, no more games, no playing around, no under the table type of things. So I think that's pretty much me, and I have done this for over a decade now, and I've been into thousands of houses. I've worked even for the Archbishop in town, at his residence. I even got an award from 7HR, I think it was, for above and beyond from a customer who nominated me because I did beyond my means and scope of work, and they appreciated it in such a way that, you know, they got me an award. So I think that says enough for me. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Andrew Bingley.
Good afternoon. My name's Phil Bingley. I'm retired and I live at Lackland. If I'm elected, I will be a full-time, non-political aligned, independent councillor and mayor, fully accessible to the ratepayers for any concerns and queries. Before retirement, I had a 39-year career in local government. I believe this has given me the experience and knowledge to be an effective councillor and mayor. My priorities will be to focus on addressing council's core responsibilities, advocating with my fellow councillors for affordable rate increases based on annual increases in pensions and wage increases in the private and public sector. I also want to avoid what happened at Maydena this year, where rates skyrocketed by up to 48%. To avoid this happening again, I will advocate with my fellow councillors to introduce a rate capping system allowed under the Local Government Act to help reduce rate increase shock, brought about by the revaluation of properties by the State Valuation Department. Prioritising road maintenance, which is long overdue. The Derwent Valley is taking off with new subdivisions, more houses, more cars, more wear and tear on our roads. In summary, I believe, like everyone else, council must live within a budget and prioritise its activities accordingly. The bottom line is, council can't be everything to everyone. Thank you.
Good point.
Any questions? Mr. Lacey?
Stephen Lacey, Philip and I have worked together over many years. I supported Paul as a councillor, and I'm very happy with the work he's doing. His work, my question is not so much the rates and all that, the things that affect the town, like with graffiti. Philip and I worked on a working group for 12 months. Our ideas were there. I'll make you a statement when I ask the question. Now the graffiti policy was passed, with none of our suggestions incorporated into it. This was very disappointing. We now find we're having ramifications of that. We have another thing which was snacks inside, which is another part of a policy. Things were being covered within 10 days, 14 days. We report things, like an example on the last council meeting last Thursday about the men's urinal down there, hasn't been working for 3 months.
Ian, can I get you to ask the question? We're pretty short on time.
No, the question is, are you going to work and try and get these things remedied? I mean, the council sit there and they don't say anything to the meeting. So are you prepared, and the other councils that you're elected, to speak up, not just to sit there and say, oh, that must be right?
Well, as I said, Ian, I'll be a full-time councillor and mayor. I will always be available, always available. So yeah, I'll be full-time. And of course, any concerns, any complaints, I'm more than happy to take up. As a councillor and as a mayor, we represent the community, so we need to be that link between the community and management and the workforce. So I'd have no, it won't be an issue about looking at issues that people might have, and if I form the opinion the council can help, then certainly I would want to do that, and I would always follow up.
Right, much appreciated. That's fine. Yeah, I can't ask that of every council, can I?
Any other questions?
Nigel Shearer, Phil, you explained quite eloquently your approach to the council, which is very laudable for being a councillor. You're also standing for mayor, as are two other candidates. Could you tell us what additional extra over attributes you have that would give you an advantage to being mayor for the Derwent Valley as opposed to being a councillor, because they are two different jobs?
I just think that
20 seconds, Philip.
just think that within working in local government for 39 years, I've worked for good councils, bad councils, and very ordinary councils. So I've seen a whole range of how councils operate, and over a long period of time, and I just think that that experience gives you the knowledge to be able to be a good councillor and perhaps mayor. Yeah.
Candidate Vinnie, I just mentioned that if we do run out of time, there'll be an opportunity for some one-on-ones with the candidates who will be able to stay for a little bit longer after the 5 o'clock finish. So if you've got questions that are particular to issues you want to raise with the candidates, feel free to do so outside after 5.
Thanks everyone. My name's Peter Vinnie. I'm a candidate for councillor and mayor. In my capacity of running a survey firm, Peter Vinnie Surveys, for 40 years, I was involved with the design and survey extensive subdivisions and housing developments, and especially in the Brighton municipality. I was instrumental in the design of the Brighton estate in the old army camp, where there was a mixture of large and small lots to accommodate a range of housing types. I also designed and surveyed the bulk of Glenlee Estate rural residential subdivision of Brighton, along with many other developments. I've extensive experience in the set out of buildings, strata titles and cadastral surveys. To the future of the Derwent Valley, recently I've advocated for an IKEA store to be stationed in built New Norfolk, a motorcycle museum, the rezoning of land for residential development. Brighton is running out of residential land. Much of Brighton Township is surrounded by rural living zone land, and including the Glenlee subdivision, which is already subdivided. There are a few smaller pockets of residential land within the township, and the last greenfield site, now subject to a sales contract to an extraordinary sum, was settled yesterday. This leaves New Norfolk as the next destination for rapid housing development, and the council should be ready for this expansion. I'm concerned that major developers in town are not local. The development in Cox Avenue is done by a Victorian company, Back River Road is another Victorian company, and the Mills are a Queensland company, and they only offer house and land packages. We need opportunities for young people to be able to buy a block of land. We need more blocks to keep the sale and keep the availability up and the price down. I've been in discussion with various people around town, and some people tell me that they think the administration of our council is a bit top heavy, and for that I'd be looking at an efficiency division of 2.5% over the next 4 years. I'm with Councillor Bingley here, and I reckon we ought to have a rate cap, and I'd say 10%.
That's 2 minutes.
Questions? Yes.
I'm Mark Bennett Blackburn. I want to bring up the question which is something which has bugged me for a number of years. I've lived here for 22 years. I won't go into detail, but many years ago we had calls to take council twice to the civil courts, and one each time because council common sense decisions that should be made by administration are not being made. Now I got sick of recently, I raised an issue, and you know what I'm told every time? I'll be referred to management. And that seems to be like a recorded message on this council. And it's not just me, I know other people saying exactly the same thing. We need, if I have an issue, well, I'll give you an example. It was brought up with another person in Lacey, I think, the toilets in Stephen Street. We're a tourist town, or supposed to be, and we had a disgustingly filthy toilet. I was in there some months ago, and there were tourists there. The urinal wouldn't even flush, and I raised it 3 times with council administration.
Can I just call order there? That's a very good question, but I don't really think that candidate Vinnie is going to fix the toilet today. I think a general statement or a general question would be better value. So
Well,
if
the
you want
general
to rephrase.
question is, if issues like this are brought up, they should be addressed by council laws. And there should be a whole policy of the council that these sort of issues need to be addressed.
Yeah, I agree with you entirely. I've done a snap-scene solve on that. Councillor Bingley's done a snap-scene solve on that. Councillor Bingley's been told it's been fixed. It hasn't been fixed. It was raised again in the council meeting last Thursday by Councillor Graham, and the solution is that it's a non-urgent job, and the plumber has been asked to fix it, put a new system in. Incidentally, there was a new system put in the Granton toilets on much shorter notice than 12 months, which is the time that real has not been working.
Yep. One more question. I think that's a good question there that should be followed up individually, if that's okay. Question?
Amy, I just wondered if you had any other vision for the valley other than putting in more subdivisions.
Yeah. The alternative I see is that there's now a local government review happening. I've actually put a submission in the local government review, and it seems to me that the government is pushing towards amalgamation, and without further expansion of our residential areas and increasing the rate base, we're slowly going to go out the back door, and amalgamation will be it.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
A new face.
Yeah. Oh, I've been around a while. Hi everyone, I'm Deb Carnes, and before I get into what I have to say, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge and extend that also to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in the room today. So I moved here 15 years ago to work for the Federal Labor member who opened his office up in High Street. And I didn't get the job because I'm a shrinking violet. So there's been a few questions about would you stand up and have a say at council. I'm perfectly capable of doing that. I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have been in the job if I was somebody who wasn't capable of that particular action. Now, I'm really pleased to be here and to see such diversity of candidates, and I think that the Derwent Valley has a very diverse population, and I also think that we're going to have a very diverse council, so we need to be able to work together collegially and negotiate outcomes around issues that are raised as well. And I go into this knowing that I will have my own ideas and I will hear those ideas of others, but ultimately it's about getting the outcome where you can please you can't please all the people all of the time. It's about being able to please most of the people most of the time. And I recognise that it's not necessarily my view that's going to get up in the day, and it shouldn't be. It should be those of the community and the bulk of the community wherever that's possible. Now, okay, the main driver for me running is because I have a background as a nurse. I'm interested in the social determinants of health. And they're the non-medical things that have an impact on your health and well-being. And where you're born has that impact, your postcode has an impact on your health outcomes. So I have a really good knowledge in that area, and I'd like to put that towards the council as well. You want to know more about me? www.debcarnes.vision is my website. You'll get links to my social media there as well, where you can find out a little bit more. And of course, I'll hang around afterwards as well. Thank you. Sorry, I wasn't.
Any questions?
Questions?
Yeah.
Yes?
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned about health and background in health. Now, before moving up here 22 years ago, my late partner and I lived in the Hill. We never had any issues with getting to see short notice experienced GPs. Now, we have a wonderful hospital up here. There's only one issue, there's no doctors. Now, do you think council should be doing all it possibly can to lobby? We're a growing valley. We have what should be a wonderful hospital manned by GPs and paramedics. Instead of which, if you get ill, like my late partner who died a horrible death from pancreatic cancer in 2016, had to go into an ambulance all the way into the royal was wrecked. We should be having a decent medical service in this valley, and I think surely council could take some role in lobbying the state and federal politicians to get something done, to give us the status that Fewendall has and other regional towns in Tasmania.
Okay, thank you for the question, and I am really sorry to hear of the incident situation around your partner. That is obviously a traumatic experience, and I'll start by acknowledging that. There are some differences between, I guess, and this is where my expertise can come to the fore. The Derwent Valley misses out on a lot of the federal funding because of its location. It's not in one of the more rural areas, and Huonville is. So that's one of the reasons why that disparity is there. And they've had several looks at this. So they use this thing called the AGS-CRA and the Monash model to determine funding, and that's where the rural funding support comes from. I agree with you though that there is a need to lobby further. Health is a Commonwealth and state responsibility, and general practice is mainly the Commonwealth, and we do need to lobby in that area. I don't know that we can fix the rurality scales, but we can lobby on things like that social determinants of health. Norfolk and the Derwent Valley is a low SES community, so I think that's somewhere where we could start to focus on some policy change. I also agree with your comments around the hospital, but I feel I should also raise the work of the late Bill Dermody and his work towards getting nurse practitioners. So I'm a nurse, and having nurse practitioners in the local area as well. Nurse practitioners are cheaper than doctors, and people tend to be more satisfied with the care that they get from them because they're cheaper. They can spend more time with people, and so you can get better outcomes in that area. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Hi there everyone, my name's Heather. I was born in the Derwent Valley at the community hospital, and my family's been in the valley for 4 generations on one side, 6 on the other. My father was a logging contractor, so you might find it a bit odd that I've been asked to be a candidate with the Greens, but the reason that I'm doing this is because I have read each of the 141 policies that the Greens have got documented, and they are all about caring for community. I trained as a nurse, and I've cared for a lot of people myself. I've worked in clinical areas, and I've also worked in preventive health, and I think that more of the preventive health in the community would be great, and needs to be promoted so that people don't suffer in the long term but feel well-being in the short term. I worked as a supervisor with Metro Tasmania because Dad was a heavy machinery operator. He had bulldozers. I saw the precision that he used with those bulldozers, and I thought one time, I think I'll give that a shot at Metro, driving one of those huge buses. Well, I stayed there for 10 years because I saw the community, the customer service that could be improved there. These things and other work that I've done in tourism are skills that I can bring to being involved in community. As I've been going around and talking to people on the doors, I've been really saddened that there's a level of poverty in our community. And I feel like we need to bring everybody with us. And I better leave it at that.
Any questions? Anne?
That's the same one if you don't mind. Is that
No,
okay?
that's fine.
Yeah, so the statement was, elected representatives of our community should have a high degree of integrity. Please describe the personal attributes you possess that fit this requirement.
In different roles that I've had, for example, when I was nursing at the Royal, I was asked if I'd move into a role in the infection control unit and do a 6-month survey there. I was offered like an additional responsibility, I suppose you could say. And at Metro, I started off as a driver for a couple of years, and then I was promoted to one of the first women supervisors there. And I used to operate the radio room, talking to 100 buses out on the road, which it was really challenging at first, but I just really love engaging with people and I'm prepared to put myself forward. I don't know, what can I say? I just do have integrity. Being a Green, I think, demonstrates integrity because I want to contribute to not only the community, but our environment as well. It's very, very important, you know. Our environment is being degraded in so many ways. And that's our well-being depends on our environment. And there are solutions. So I'd love us all to get on board and find those solutions, work towards them. I've got heaps of ideas. Sustainable tourism, dealing with the things with climate change that we can. Even though we live in a really safe part of the world, you know, the impacts are going to affect us. Things are drying out. I think we all know that. And the council's been doing good things, but there's more to be done. And the other thing is, well-being is more than just health, even though I think the medical situation is just atrocious. Because I live in Westaway and my doctor retired or resigned with COVID, and I haven't had a doctor for 2 years myself. I have to go for an hour to get it to a doctor. I understand, you know, something needs to be done. I think lobbying is really, really important, and I'm prepared to write the reports and get out there and lobby.
Senator Cosgrove.
Okay, hello all. My name is Jessica Cosgrove. I've lived in our beautiful Derwent Valley my entire life, and I'm currently your Deputy Mayor. I run a local tourism business, the Norfolk Market, which has contributed approximately $1.6 million to the local economy, created 19 local jobs, and attracts over 90,000 visitors per year. I work in the community services industry for a not-for-profit organisation. I'm a mum to 3 boys. Having lived through past adversity, I can relate to those within our community doing it tough. I have extensive professional experience in both local and state government departments. My experience has given me the knowledge to make open and transparent decisions for our community with the aspiration to make our region livable, safe and sustainable. I love our valley, and my passion for our community is what makes me advocate positively and work hard to make our region the best place to live, work, visit and invest. I grew up in Norfolk and I have strong family ties here. My grandparents, Ian and Judith Hall, aged in their mid-80s, whom I'm very close with, were the former owners of the Plaza Cinema in Norfolk, which operated from 1912 to 2003. 3 generations of my family ran the cinema. My parents and brother live in Norfolk and are a great support to me. Over the past 4 years since I've served on council, I've demonstrated my commitment, professionalism, and proved that I'm an inclusive leader. I've shown credibility, courage and compassion, especially during the challenging times of adversity such as a global pandemic, bushfires and floods. I'm going to have to skip a lot of that, I think. During my time on council, there are so many wonderful things happening in our region. New businesses, $9.5 million investments into quarantine care. Our township is getting... Thank you. I've been up since 4:30 this morning, so I'm pretty woozy. Okay.
Malcolm Hills. Been on the down for 65 years. With my late wife, we developed a business on the down MSD, which we started from the day of the bushfires in 67. And the thing I see lacking, even though we've got 40 people, and a lot of other business people here, never had a visit from a councillor in all those years. And say, well, can we do anything to support you? That's what's lacking in this town. Do councillors go round the business and say, thing is with all of our subdivisions, and doing that, have we got the infrastructure to support all these subdivisions? The main thing we should be looking at in this town, that the kids that are going to the schools, jobs for kids in the community. I know from experience from somebody that is offering 120 jobs on this town, he's been denied support from the council. He's offering those 120 jobs for kids so they don't have to travel to Hobart to find work. So where do the council stand on jobs, not just subdivisions and tourism? We want jobs for kids in this town, please.
I did have that actually covered in the rest of my speech, but I didn't have time to get to that. We do have on council a recently new document called the Investment Prospectus, which is to encourage investors, new businesses to operate in the Derwent Valley, and therefore, if they do, they should employ locals. I understand where you're coming from. I've got 3 young boys, or 2 are teenagers, and I'm hopeful that they will be able to secure a job in our local community whilst they do their schooling. As far as not receiving a visit from council, I believe the onus is on both parties. I've certainly helped out many local businesses. I'm very approachable, and I do take the time to meet with people that just, if they've got concerns or want to have a discussion or whatnot. So I would never turn a business away from communicating with them.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Justin Dirksen, and I'm standing for Councillor for the Derwent Valley Council. First and foremost, thank you for taking the time to be here today. It's an absolute beautiful day outside, and I can imagine greater things to be doing in the Derwent Valley today, but to be here is of great appreciation. My family lives in the Derwent Valley. I'm married to my gorgeous wife, Casey, and we're raising our 3 kids here. Casey was born in the district hospital in 1984 and was one of the last children born there by Dr. Sweet. We have great roots here in the Derwent Valley, and I've lived most of my life here in Tasmania. I'm a carpenter, joiner, tiler by trade. I learnt my trade here in Tasmania, and when I was first started out working on the tools, I worked for $6.70 an hour. I worked 2 jobs. My then girlfriend, now wife, worked 3 jobs so we could purchase our first home. We understand how hard it is, that things don't come because of luck, they come because of opportunity and hard work. I'm one of those people who wants to put in the hard work, has that energy, the dedication and the drive to bring a new dynamic to the Derwent Valley Council so we can be looking for those opportunities together. I volunteered in youth development for over 20 years. I've had some really great experiences, and in those experiences I looked at it as giving back to the community so that others could have the same opportunities that I had. At one stage there, I've been a member of the Duke of Edinburgh International Award. A great award for many young people. In 2013, I was part of the trek that went to Kokoda. 12 young people from that trek received the Gold Duke of Edinburgh Award, and then subsequently were able to provide themselves with meaningful employment. I want to be one of those people that represents our community, finds those opportunities and gives back in that sense. Thank you.
Questions? Over there.
Can I just ask what political group you aligned with?
Absolutely. So I'm a proud member of the Liberal Party. Last year I stood in the state election for Lions. I'm extremely proud of it. I make no apologies for it. My signs are blue and redecorated from the previous election, re-stickered for this election, and I don't shy away from it. And particularly proud. I feel they align with my values, and it's for me to be part of that party. It's if I don't agree with something, then I have the moral fortitude to be able to stand up and say that I don't agree.
Other questions?
Again,
question.
So the statement is elected representatives of our community should have a high degree of integrity. Please describe the personal attributes you possess that fit this requirement.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the question. Integrity, ethics, moral fortitude, they're all fundamental parts of what a councillor should be. And not only a councillor, but obviously that broader part of the local government and our state and federal governments. I feel that I demonstrate those values in my day-to-day life, the way that I approach my community, how I've participated, how I present awards, and go through things like that. Hypothetically, if I was to be elected as a councillor and I disagreed with something, I wouldn't represent myself in the private capacity as a private citizen against the council's decision. I think that it's up to our elected members to obviously stand by the values of what the Code of Conduct represents and to recognise their pecuniary interests when deemed necessary, so they can step out of the room so the council can act effectively.
If you were to be elected, would you see your 4 years out, or would you go to another?
That's a really great hypothetical. Like I said, obviously I'm one of 2 members standing for council that have stood in the state election previous. If by chance then I was called up, then I'd have to consider the option. It's one of those things, you can never say never, but at this stage I am a proud member of the Derwent Valley, putting my hand up to be a councillor. It's a long 3 minutes.
My name is Diane Quilliam. I have a question. What other ideas do you think you might have for youth development in the community?
Oh, that's a fantastic question, and I'm really glad you asked that, because as I've been going around the community, I've been doing a lot of door knocking in the last 2 weeks. I've been from Granton to Medina, I've been out to Mount Lloyd and back to Rose Garland. And what I've been saying to people is there's a lot of opportunity here in the Derwent Valley, and the 3 things that I'd like to strongly advocate for. Tourism Information Centre, Regional Chamber of Commerce, and a localised regional training hub for our young people to complete skills and training. Thank
you. Michelle, we'll have a short break after this next speaker, so you can have a toilet break and change your glasses.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being here. Yeah, and thank you as well, candidates. It's lovely to stand amongst you, and it's wonderful to see the calibre of people that we've had step up for this election. My name is Michelle Drakulis. I'm the current Mayor of the Derwent Valley, and I would like to say that my skills are in working with people. So I've always been involved with communities. I've also worked in health. I've worked in the arts, as everyone knows. I work with palliative children as well. It's another space I work in. So a whole bunch of things there that feed very much into integrity and being trustworthy and being able to keep space for people when they need that. I'm not a professional. I won't say, there are people around this table who have had professional experience in areas that I have not, but my skill is working with people. And my skill is talking to people, and anybody who has had experience with me, I think in the last 6 months since I've been elected will agree that I listen and I move towards results. I do. I don't hide from things. I'll step up to it, and I'm happy to say when I'm wrong too. There have been a couple of things raised that I feel the need to speak to. General, the urinal flushing. So we're chasing that again this week. That was a case of the plumber not being available, not being a priority. It wasn't a priority issue. It was about being able to get the plumber out here to do that. So we're just waiting on that, and we'll be chasing it again. As far as the lack of GPs go, it's definitely an issue. I haven't been able to get into a GP here in the Valley in several years. I drive my kids to Brighton, but I will acknowledge that we have an excellent medical centre here. It just has far too high a load. So we've got 13, I believe, GPs. I've been in conversation with Dr. Papingo, who manages the Derwent Valley Medical Centre, and those GPs all do rotations through our hospital to help with our acute and palliative people. So there are people working very hard in that space. It's just not enough for the population. And that is something that I've been conferring with Dr. Papingo and Alison Standen from over at Comerambine and the state and the federal police as well. So that is something that we're pushing for. And I'm out of time. Any questions?
call to order there. I mean, it's in the past,
I know that's not the past.
but I think if we get into a discussion about who voted against disestablishing a committee,
It's on public record.
it's on public record, but as far as in the past is concerned, I'd like to keep it in the past, but if you got some comments to make about the future of some of these volunteer groups, I'm more than happy to accept that.
Fine. So, question is, are you happy with that decision?
I won't accept that. I won't accept that.
If I could just speak to the future of all of those people, though, council is still in a position where it is committed to helping those groups to incorporate or establish and helping them find ways to create their own governance boards and move forward. So there's still the option of support there, even for those that haven't asked for it yet. So, any other
Thanks.
questions?
Over there. Yes.
You're focusing on communication and engagement with people. How do you approach people who may be new to the community but are a local community group and want to talk to you? Because we're a local community group and we've touched base with you a few times and we've been referred to as blow-ins by some of our staff.
Oh, not by me. I'm not. But I've been getting out, as you can probably appreciate, stepping into the last 6 months of what is essentially someone else's term has been quite challenging. Getting out and meeting with each and every other community group has been huge. I've been to 3 places before this and I'll go to another after today. So it's more a case of timing. I am aware of your group and I'm aware of some of the conversations we're having around the hall and whatnot as well. And I will get there. It's just been a very full-on period, to be honest. It's been a lot to pick up, and then of course another election already as well. So my apologies, but I am aware of you, and we will get together.
Quick one, just following up what Justin Dirksen said. I think it was scandalous that we do, it is scandalous that we're a major tourism area, we do not have a tourism information centre in the town. Now, I have very strong views on this because of my background, scientific and IT background. A lot of people don't seem to understand if you go to the big tourism things or we go to Google, Google will only identify a tourist business or attraction if they pay money to Google.
That's not
And
true.
a lot of people don't.
That's not true.
We'll call it.
Oh, rubbish, it's rubbish, it is true. I'm sorry.
Time. I'll give Michelle an opportunity just to quickly respond to that without any conflict.
Okay,
So, thank you.
So as far as my position on the Tourist Information Centre goes, I've been in conversation with Derwent Valley Tourism, so that's a collection of tourism operators in the valley, and we've also got an advisory body being established that involves tourism as well. So I'll be taking information on from what the community wants and what they need. I would say personally, and this is a dangerous thing for me to do, but I would say personally that in my travels, I've certainly enjoyed dropping by tourist information centres, and that's part of the experience that you remember when you're travelling, is the human beings that you interact with. So,
Thanks for that. We'll have a short break for about 10 minutes, but I just reiterate that we have to be very considerate of each other and the comments that are made. We will not be putting any of the candidates in the hot seat. So if the questions can be phrased in a way that are positive and looking for a positive answer, we will accept them. Is that correct, Pat? Yeah. Have a break for 10 minutes. Thank you. Order. Somebody made mention during the break that the questions from the floor are a little bit hard to hear, so I'll ask that you do stand up, speak in a pretty loud voice. If you need to come forward and use the microphone, please do, but it's important that all the guests here today can hear the questions and understand the questions. So if you have a question, speak up a bit louder if you can. Okay, we all ready?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm James Graham, and I'm here for the next 4 years, no matter what. That's my commitment to you. But here's how it looks to me. Here's how it looks to me. That if you've got 9 people vying for the top 2 jobs, and we only need 8 councillors, it would seem to me that the 8 are already in the mix. If we have 8 people prepared to back themselves, enough that want the top 2 jobs, it seems to me that kind of makes me ready for getting on the bench. So I want to get on the bench, which means I may not be your number one, but maybe an 8 would work. Okay? But I'm not gullible enough to believe, being a young man from the age of, a while, back to 1984, I'm not convinced yet in my head that 2 + 2 = 5, or red won't vote for red, or blue won't vote for blue, or green won't vote for green, which kind of leaves a little gray area for anybody that can be all three at the same time, depending what the issue is that hits the middle of the floor in the council chamber. You don't bring your own agenda in through the door. You listen to the debates. You drive it. You make it work. You find out where the wiggle room is. Compromise when you can. So I'm going to be there no matter what. I'm not going anywhere. And if you want to talk about integrity, rock up when you don't get back on, or you don't get on. Rock up with your 2 questions every council meeting, and keep us honest. Ask your questions. We'll answer them. I should have yielded my 2 minutes just so I could answer questions.
Any questions?
Oh, I got some of my own. Do you still get the 5 minutes if nobody asks? And
Intrigued.
oh,
Describe the strengths you possess that will benefit the Derwent Valley community.
my strengths. Probably. Rephrase it for me, please. My strengths.
Describe the strengths that you possess that will benefit the Derwent Valley community.
Oh, okay. Well, they'd probably best be identified by my fingerprints. My fingerprints are all over the Family and Child Center. They're all over the Online Center. They're all over the Autumn Festival. They're all over, well, pretty much our local newspaper. The fingerprints are all over Tiger FM. I'm your guy. I mean, if you want to know what's going on in the community, that's where I hang out. It's as simple as that. But my biggest concern, and I hope my colleagues get this one, is that it appears that local government's being forced down an avenue whereby we're supposed to take care of we're supposed to take care of your health, we're supposed to take care of this, we're supposed to make sure you're doing the right thing. I mean, if it's your street and it's not you throwing the garbage on your street, ask your neighbor, was it you? No, it wasn't me. Was it you? Take control of the situations ourselves. That's what it's about, as far as I'm concerned. We're there for you when you need us. You're more than the bankroll. We all talk about my role, everybody else's. The ratepayer has a serious role to play in local government. Get on with it. Keep us honest. Do the right thing. And if I'm on the bench, no more borrowing. Bring the debt down by $1.3 million over the next 4 years. Make sure the infrastructure that's above the ground and below the ground is maintained and renewed. And if you're going to be the guy that's living on your street, throwing your garbage out the window, stop doing it. It's as simple as that. Simple as that. Not paying our councillors, because I know I'm not throwing it out on my street. We set by example. So if you want integrity around any of the issues that you think you need to talk about to us, demonstrate it in your own life first. Show us the way. I'm ready. I'm ready. I can learn. 2 + 2 = 5 yet? Have I convinced anybody? More time. I was going to yield the 2 minutes. I was going to yield the 2 minutes just for questions.
Given you voted against declaring a climate emergency, what are your environmental priorities?
Oh, well, this is a great story, this one. Well, I don't know. I start going back to 1965 when Greenpeace was just starting out. But the thing about the climate emergency thing is, think about it for one. Whoa!
That's for a one-on-one after.
Yeah, that's a one-on-one.
Thanks, James. Brandon Hill.
Thank you, everybody attending. That's a hard act to follow. So my name is Matt Hill, and I've lived in the Derwent Valley all my life, and my family's been here for generations. and I'm proud and passionate of where I come from. I'm not aligned with any political party, I'm not a member of a political party, I'm not endorsed by a political party, or aligned with any candidate. However, I'm committed to working with my fellow councillors to benefit this community. The reason why I'm standing for councillor, because I want to make a positive difference in our community. You know, I always endeavour to be consistent with my actions, and I believe I'm quite approachable. I always will endeavour to consult, communicate with, and respect our community. With the ever-growing cost of living, I'm committed to working with my fellow councillors to achieve best value for money services. As they say, there's no I in team, and I believe that councillors should work collaboratively and respectfully with each other. Thank you.
Any questions? Over here.
Yeah. Tell me to sit down if I'm boring you.
No.
No, Matt, obviously, I mean, long-time resident in the town. I like this town has more future than probably any other town in Tasmania, as I see it. The environment we've got is beautiful. But you, as a councillor, and I ask this of all councillors, when you drive around this town and you see the condition of the town, the condition, don't look just at High Street, look at the shops, look at the condition behind High Street, look at the roads. And how long are the roads lasting? I mean, I look at roads because I build roads.
Yeah.
That's all I do, build. I've been involved in building roads since 1964.
Yeah.
Carter Bittern to the Murchison Highway. And I go around the town and I am not proud of this town. But I go up to the Central Highlands and drive through Gretna and Hamilton and everything is beautiful. It looks lovely. You come into this town and you drive around, go out back river to the Bed King.
Make your point, please, now.
The thing is, are you as a councillor proud of the condition of this town?
I believe that roads should be more of a priority when it comes to upgrading and maintenance. There are definitely, I agree, there's some quite poor roads in our municipality. I've stated that publicly at council meetings. I stated publicly at the council meeting on Thursday night about a road that I believe that was in quite poor condition. So I think they should be given a priority.
You can sit down, Phil.
Yeah, my belief is that I think we've got too overloaded with our staff in the council chamber, highly paid people. You know, I go back a few years in this council and there's some positions there that we thought of years ago and there's nothing changed in the town. You know, we've got a general manager on $2 million a year plus or something, with cards and all that sort of thing, but I go to the council meetings sometimes, they're lined up along the
Phil,
back there.
Phil, just be specific, mate.
And
Ask a question.
I just think we've gone too far with the internal staff, what it's cost us for the, that type of staff in this camp.
Okay, that's a statement. We'll accept that statement. Thanks.
And
As to James Graham, I mean, we talked about the commission of the town, the town is not a beautiful town, as in litter, there is litter everywhere. And I just feel you being a hands-on person, because of that, you pick up litter. And as James said, we need to take responsibility, not rely on the council to do it. You see it, get out there and do something about it. And that's what we need. We need more people, not to be frightened, to get out and get their hands dirty. And I think that's very important. Do you agree with that or not?
I certainly agree with that, Ian. One thing I didn't say, but I didn't say that because I believe a lot of people in the room know that I'm quite an active volunteer in this community, and I've worked for non-government organisations for over 19 years as well, and 15 years in the local government industry. So I believe, yes, I believe that community should take action on that.
Any other questions? One-on-one. You can see that.
Yeah.
Hello everybody, my name is Lauriniak and I'm running for councillor. Big thank you to everybody who's come and for our organisers and facilitators as well. So I'm a well-qualified communications professional. I've spent the last 10 or so years volunteering on a range of boards and with a lot of not-for-profits, including locally. I'm the Vice President of Derwent Valley Arts, I'm President-elect of Rotary, and I've been helping Tiger with some governance restructuring issues. I enjoy giving back, and I think council provides me with a really good platform on which I can kind of continue to do that on a broader community level to help make some structural change. I stand for good governance, collaboration and transparency, and I want to help foster community wellbeing and inclusion through things like social participation, expanded services and good considered infrastructure. I want to see government institutions do better, and I really want to see our council as a place of integrity. I see government as a thing that should bring people together, and you're kind of hearing across the room people's dissatisfaction with our government services and with council, and I think we could do better there. So thank you. I'm happy to take any questions. No questions?
Oh,
Hey, hello, Anne.
There's a different one now.
Yes.
No one will know what I'm going to ask.
No.
What
Nervous.
is one personal attribute that you most value?
So I'm working in communications, I'm a big fan of openness and honesty. I understand how you can use communication to restore faith and build trust in systems. And that's something that I try to do quite often in my life, whether it's at work or whether it's outside of work or the organisations I'm involved in. I don't think there's any point obfuscating. And I think particularly given my ambitions around restoring faith in government and government structures, that's part of the toolkit to do that.
Good answer.
My name's Chris Lester. A question, more of a statement in one way. We've had two candidates stand up and express their political alliance. Do you have one?
Yes, so I'm a member of the Labor Party. I'm actually the president of the Derwent Valley branch of the Labor Party. Like Justin, I'm not ashamed of this. I'm quite proud of it. And I think my membership gives you some insight into my values. So I certainly stand for things like fairness, equality, and social participation in things like decision making.
No, part two. Yes. Part two is, how do you think that will fall along the lines to the council, and you have to make a decision based on Labor values or council?
Yeah, absolutely. So the question was, how would I guess, reconcile my membership with the party with my ability to be a councillor? So I'm standing as an independent. I'm not running affiliated with the Labor Party, which means that I am not under any obligation to comply with their policies and their platforms. I have been, in my job, so I'm a public servant, which is apolitical, so my membership has had no impact on my ability to do that. I've been involved in a number of not-for-profits that are government funded, and it hasn't had any impact on my ability to do that. I think I'm grown up enough and clever enough to be able to wear various hats depending on the situation. So I don't think there'll be a problem navigating that.
There's another question.
Hello.
Hello, my name's Tree. I was just going to ask, what is an example of structural change? So you want to use structural change?
So the question was, because I mentioned structural changes, the question was, what's an example of one of those? So I know that there's obviously a lot of conversations about things like rates, and I totally appreciate that the rate increase was a bit of a shock to everybody, and I think as part of that we need to be looking at whether the things like rate increases are a result of the cost of operations going up, or whether it's the result of poorly managed finances and things like that. And so I think if we're talking about the structure of council, it's things like making sure it's efficient and it's effective. On a broader community level, I think we've obviously there's some concerns around the way that the committee process has been handled, and obviously the council are bringing in advisory bodies, and I actually support the advisory bodies, but I also want to make sure that it's not coming at the expense of other voices in the community, and so making sure that other people who aren't necessarily aligned with the council structure or a government structure, or even an organisation like Derwent Valley Arts, still have the pathway to contribute and to be heard.
One more question?
No, thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Eve Nelson. My husband and I live in Hayes. We bought 2 of the old cottages attached to the old prison farm. I should say, have a small business here in New Norfolk where we support other small business. And I see a huge opportunity here in the Derwent Valley to attract new business into the town, but also support what we've got. And to go along with that, I think there needs to be training and opportunities provided, not just to the young people, to the whole community, to upskill them or give them the skills that they need to be able to go and work for these small businesses within the community. We've all been talking about the new builds and the new housing estates coming in. People are going to be living in those, people are going to be looking for jobs. We don't want them leaving the valley, we want them staying in here to work, spend their money in the new businesses that we've got and become a fully self-sustainable region. Any questions?
Questions? At the back. Speak loudly.
Given your focus on improving jobs, what's your approach to a lot of vacant businesses along High Street?
Yeah, look. The question was about a lot of the vacant shops along the High Street. If I can expand on that, outside of High Street, all around town, we've got empty warehouses, we've got empty shops. We need to provide people with the support they need to start businesses. A lot of people might know how to, I'll use a shoe shop as an example, they can sell shoes, but they don't know how to set up the business. It's that back end support that people will need to be able to go and do what they do best, and that is sell shoes, clothes, whatever it is, and fill up those empty spaces, not just in High Street, but all around town, and make the town look like it's thriving.
Question over here, Dean.
Back again. I talk about the town centre. I've been here now 19 years, and the number of shops, specialty shops that have gone, you really don't have a lot of variety going out Main Street, which is disappointing. So that's why people are then going to Glenmore and do the shopping.
Absolutely.
You're right, I mean, I know you're only one voice on those, but how do you turn that around?
Other question is, how are we going to attract those new businesses into town? Yep. Well, like I was saying, people know what they want. They don't know what they want. They know how to do what they can do, but they don't know how to get it started. So we open up these empty shops. We get them in there. We show them how to start the business, get accountants, get bookkeepers, how to source the goods that they need. It's the back end support that we need to provide these people so that they can stick to their knitting, for want of a better term. Did that answer your question?
Diana here. Just a question, would you take forward an idea to do a survey of the community to see what they need in the shopping centre?
Absolutely.
And more broadly. There's been a fair bit of talk, thank you everybody for that, about working for the community and bringing those ideas forward. So I was just wondering if that's an option.
Would I participate in a survey?
Yeah, and would you put that forward as an idea?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think, so Diane, was it?
Diana.
Diana was just asking if I would undertake a survey to assess where the gaps are in the...
If you would support that, yeah.
Absolutely, I would support a survey. I'd happily even get it all started for us and set it all up, because there are the obvious gaps.
You're a privateer. Chris, you're working in private enterprise. How do you envisage council would be able to work in that space to work with businesses to set up?
Look, I think there's opportunity. How would I get council to participate in?
How do you see council fitting into that role, being able to support new businesses? What can council do in that space? As a privateer, you can do so. As a council, what do you do?
Look, there's opportunities within council working alongside a collaborative council. in doing what we need to bring in, even if it's creating the space for training, the space for the shops to open, use the contacts with council and the opportunities within there to bring in the subject matter experts. Did that answer your question? Thanks. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wayne Shoebridge, and there's been a little bit of talk about blow-ins. Well, I'm a 25-year blow-in. I blew into this area in '97 and descended upon one of the most beautiful places on God's green earth. And I'm all for having this area of Tasmania and our country being the most beautiful place and one of the best places in the country to live. Now, I've been a volunteer on and off for the last 15 years. I'm semi-retired. I've worked in local government as a young bloke in Sydney. I've worked in the entertainment industry for over 30 years while I was still on the mainland. And down here, I've worked as a sales rep, I've worked as a bass agent, a bookkeeper, and I've ran my own business. All I can say is I need the council to, former councillor by the way too, for those that don't know, the council seems to have lost its way about our assets, in my view. This is my personal view. And we need to take stock of what we've got. We've got to look after what we've got because this area is growing. And as we grow, we're going to have more assets. We're going to have more infrastructure. And to grow, we need more. So we've got to make sure we've got the benefit there and the ability to look after that sort of infrastructure that's going to grow. And it's going to grow and grow and grow the way we're going. So we need more control by the councils. They are the policy makers. They should be setting the policy, and then the general manager and his staff should be enacting that policy. Thank you. Questions? Yo.
I just wondered, you said look after the assets. What assets are you talking about?
I'm talking about our roads, our infrastructure, anything that the council is responsible for maintaining. Because that actually, believe it or not, belongs to the ratepayers. It's our council. They're looking after our roads. We want people to come here. Do we want them to come here with our roads and infrastructure as they are at the moment?
What do you mean by infrastructure? I'm sorry.
Our parks, our toilets, our roads, our gutters, our footpaths, they're all our responsibility, our councillor's responsibility. When you get into education, yes, we can lobby, but we can't do. We can only lobby. As a council, we can lobby oil. We used to have a councillor. I'm not going to talk out of turn when I mention her name. Her name was Judy Bromfield. She was one of the most biggest advocates for our hospital up here. And for years, she advocated and advocated and advocated. And prior to her demise, she finally got an X-ray machine. That's what councillors do, they lobby. But they also look after what we've already got and what we need to look after. Most definitely. Frascati House should not be in the state that it's in now. That is my firm belief. The committee structure should never have been, in my view, should never have been demised.
Question?
Sorry.
Avon calling.
I'm attending the council meetings. I see the way you ask the questions. You're not trying to ask the questions. If you get in as a councillor, you're going to change.
Oh boy. Those that know me, my former council opponents, and one sitting over here and one over there behind the recording equipment, would know that I don't change. That's what you see is what you get. If I've got an opinion, I'll make it. But then there are 6 or 7 or 8 other people, depending if they're all there, around that table. They've got opinions also. And you've got to listen to them. And you've got to make up your mind at the end of a debate. You don't make up your mind at the beginning. You must wait till the debate is finished and you've got all the information before you go making a decision.
Another question? Oh, right on time.
Hi everyone, I'm Liz Virtue. I've got a cold and I'm sucking on a lozenge so that I don't cough. I'm a candidate for councillor. I have integrity and extensive knowledge and skills to offer. My husband Rob and I own Derwent, a heritage property in New Norfolk, and I operate it as a tourism and hospitality business, employing several local residents. When we bought Derwent in 2016, it came with planning approval for accommodation. We worked with the Derwent Valley Council to obtain additional planning approvals for the tea rooms, campgrounds and a function centre. Prior to working in tourism and hospitality, I worked mostly in administration for government, corporate and charities. In Queensland, I was personal secretary to a Minister for Lands and a Minister for Local Government and Planning. In Tasmania, I've been personal secretary to a Premier and a Treasurer. I have also been an electorate officer for an independent federal member of Parliament in Hobart. I've worked for the Leukemia Foundation and Salvation Army and volunteered for the Heart Foundation. I'm an active and supportive member of the Derwent Valley Tasmania Tourism Operators Group. In the broader community, I'm a member of the Derwent Valley Rotary Club and a member of the Derwent Valley Labor Branch. I've been supportive of local schools, groups and charities through social media assistance, memberships, donations and collaboration for fundraising events. I will not be passive or a bystander. I will be vocal, active and supportive. We need to make the Derwent Valley an attractive place for people to live and work. We need to entice GPs and other medical professional and allied health workers, small and large business operators, people with new business ideas and so on.
Questions?
Gosh, did I cover it all? Okay. Hi. Penny.
Is it possible to do the things you're talking about and still be fiscally responsible in terms of rates and care for the roads and the infrastructure, which is basically what we're hearing from most of our candidates?
So you're asking, is it possible for me to do all the things I'm already doing?
No. In the council, you talk about the things you want to do.
We need to entice people, yeah.
Is it possible to do that and still be fiscally responsible for roads and maintenance? And
Absolutely, yeah. Sorry, Chris.
Stay down.
My question is, the ratepayers of the community and non-ratepayers too will be impacted by a very large rate increase.
Speak
up. Sorry, I've got to throw.
I'll give you a summary in a sec.
Liz will repeat the question.
So my question is, as a communicator, do you think council could have communicated all of that information better to the community to alleviate some of the angst that people are going through?
Yes. So Chris has asked if the council could have communicated better about the recent rates increases, and the answer is an absolute yes. The council as an organisation and councillors could have worked harder on that to explain to people what was in their control, what wasn't in their control, and importantly, how they can help if you're struggling with affording the increased rates. They have a hardship policy. I've used it during COVID when my business was suffering. I asked for permission through the General Manager to pay my rates weekly. We divided the total amount by 52 weeks and I paid it in a way that was affordable for me when I had very, very little business income coming in. Any one of you can do that, and the council needs to be more open about helping you navigate that process and communicating about it.
Any time left? 30 seconds.
Yes, Anne?
Just on what you were just saying, that they need to do it better, than how do you see that they can do that? What process?
Send out a document with the rates notice. Call a council meeting. Go to the regional towns and talk to people. It's all about communication. You can do it. They have more sources of communication than ever before, with social media, email, phone.
Hey guys, my name's Brodie Wiggins. A bit nerve-wracking being up here, to be honest. I've been to the valley. I've been in the valley probably shorter time than what you all are blowing. I moved out to the valley in 2018 when I first took over the swimming pool out at Bushy Park. So since then, I've now grown into, we now have a toy shop on High Street. So if I'm voted as a councillor, one thing I've picked up from then is I have always looked at the financial side of things, been through my business. I know where to look for where's our money going? What can we do to reduce basically going further and further into the red? How can we do all of that? I've also brought programs such as like Learn to Swim into places that haven't really been having learned to swim for a long time. Like I've taught several kids that went from being in the river every day to almost drowning to I can comfortably swim. I've always been one that education needs to be a thing, whether it be in schools. We get a lot of people that aren't going to school. They need somewhere to hang out. Our shop has always been open for those that want to come and hang out. We've got tables set up for people to come and play. I've always been a firm believer of pushing, helping those kids. I also come from a military background, so I've always been one to go hard. It's been drilled into me: go hard, don't give up, push for your things. And yeah, that's probably all I've got at the moment. I may not be very good at answering questions here. Still very nerve-wracking, but any questions? Questions? Yep.
You mentioned that some of the kids aren't going to school, they're coming to play in your shop. What can council do to kind of help engage the children in the community to get back to school?
So I've been asked, with those that aren't going to school that come into the shop, how can council help? Look, it's one of those ones, with the kids, when they have something set, you can't force it. If you force a child to do something, they're going to rebel even worse. As a council, we can look at, how can we slowly get them back in? What can we do, whether it be send some educational stuff to places where they hang out and go, hey, can you actually sit down and do some of this before you go off and do this? The one thing you can't do is force them, and I'm all about engage, let them come to you. So I don't know if that's a bit of a back-ended answer or something like that, but yeah, that's my views.
Brodie, can you just explain your shop as far as the children coming into your shop?
So we started as a Pokemon shop, to be honest, or a fidget shop. So we have a lot of stuff like Pokemon cards where we encourage you to come and play. Best thing about Pokemon is there is numerical and literature that you need to do to be able to play it. So it's hard. It's sort of hard to. Basically, it's a toy shop, or it's also called a local game store. So we do anything for the kids to come in, sit down, relax.
And old guy.
And old guys like Councillor Graham. He's been in a few times and tried to educate him to play Pokemon, but he won't take it on just yet. But yeah, so that's us.
Another question?
I just ask, is the focus in the shop to teach kids?
Sorry, no questions from the campus.
I'm sorry.
I have a question.
So I've just been asked do I think crime has been increased? Yes, unfortunately I do, just from, I've had people come through our place before when we haven't been around. Unfortunately, yes, we've had a few shoplifters at the shop. My views on that, unless it's changed recently, we don't have constant policing out here beyond a certain time. For us, all of our issues happen after a certain time of the night time, because by the time we can get police out here, they're not. So kids know that. Kids know the call out times for police. So yes, crime has gone up, I feel personally.
Chris?
The council chambers, the Derwent Valley is also
Yep.
from the umbrella of PCYC, and this is a generic question, so it's probably your statement. Is there more work that council can do with the PCYC to try to capture some of these kids that are roaming the streets?
So I've been asked, is there something council can do with like PCYC help capturing the kids, get off the streets?
Can council work in that space with the PCYC to do more than capture those?
Sorry.
I know that the council is working with PCYC on
Yeah.
working collaboratively with the PCYC.
Hi, I'm Natasha Woods. Last speaker. Least but best. No, that's I've been a councillor for 3 years, and I like to think of myself as the person who comes across to the community as having values that align with many people in the community. I come from a blue-collar background. I've moved all over Australia with my parents. My dad was a boilermaker working on power stations, so I went to 14 schools, and a lot of people would be like, well, I've lived in Tassie my whole life. For me, it was a matter of being able to blend in and become familiar with your surroundings and get to know people straight away, and that's what I think I do best. Work-wise, I'm a mum of 2 kids, an older and a younger one. I have been in prison for 25 years, working in that capacity, but hopefully I'll be getting parole soon, which would be really lovely. But it means I have been working in government facilities with people that struggle in everyday life, and I would think that in the different roles that I've performed in that space, I have a caring value of people that are struggling in the community or have done the wrong thing, and the old rose-coloured glasses, my tattoo is I see no evil, and to me, I just think community is really important. I think we need to work together, and when we talk about pragmatism, my role is, if you need something done, I don't shout from the rooftops about it, I just get it done.
Questions?
Natasha, how do you feel about a more approachable council? Not just as councillors, but in administration? Because I believe we lack a bit there. And I realise, and as a ratepayer, I have a responsibility the same as everybody else in this room here to support the people we elect. And not just say, well, you've got to do the job, but we don't support you. We have a job to do. But how do you feel about a more approachable council? Because honestly, at the moment, I don't believe it's very approachable.
Yep. Did everyone hear that? Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. I am quite an advocate of the staff that work on council, right from the young lady that works on the front counter all the way through to our general manager. I've seen it physically, and I know community wants specific things. I've seen it for the 3 years, or at least the 2.5 years that we've had most of that team together. They really are trying to get things done, and I know that doesn't sound because you're seeing different things, but I'm seeing like physically getting things in place where they're looking at the community, what the community has to do, and then moving forward on that. We've got a lot of plans in place that are 10-year plans that are going to be going back out to see where we're at and see the penchant for the community to want to be part of that. We're really starting to improve on feedback, and I think it's really important that if you have something you need to say, that you're able to take it. There are many avenues, and I think if you feel the need to say it, you can take it to a councillor, or the general manager will sit down and talk with you if you need to speak with him. Or if you haven't had that, I'll take it to him with you, which I have done for a number of people as well that don't feel comfortable. So that's how I see it.
Question?
Standing deputy mayor, it's a big challenge. What do you have to offer to the rest of the council, whoever they are? What do you come across as saying, what do you offer to be deputy mayor? It's a big responsibility.
So I've just been asked what would I offer as deputy mayor. I think we need to work very closely with the mayor and with the councillors, and I feel that I would be the conduit that could do that.
Excuse me, Steve. Some people have already answered the question, but the first one is, and people have declared their political affiliation. Anybody who hasn't, could you please put up your hand?
The question is, who is a member of a political party at this table? Mr. Binney?
Yeah, you've already declared, Heather, you said you were green. No, that's all I want to know. That's all I want to know. Now, the second question is, and this is just raise your hand if it's yes. Raise your hand if the answer is yes. Are you for council amalgamations?
You don't have to put your hand up if you don't want to, so this is a bit leading, but your views on possible council amalgamation, yes? Hands up. Yeah. Against? All in favour? No. It's only 4:45. I think that you all should be congratulated for participating, for coming along. The questions were very, very good. I still have a problem with trying to understand about the 2 + 2 = 5. I'll have to have a one-on-one with somebody to try and explain that to me.
We've been looking for that for 20 years.
Yeah.
May I make a statement to the entire audience in terms of prospective councillors?
One moment. I think that it's a gutsy effort to stand for local government. It really is. And they all should be congratulated for putting their hands up, coming along to be semi-interrogated today. This wasn't a debate, it was a discussion and meet the candidate decision. And I think that was the purpose of the exercise that Pat and I floated, and I think that's what's happened. You can see the people's faces, you hear their voices, you know what they stand for, and now it's up to you to make the decision as far as who you're going to vote for. I ask that you give serious consideration to when you get the ballot paper. Don't do silly things like drawing a picture of your tree or whatever else on it, or those other things that are drawn on it.
I'm going to draw a picture of your wife on this morning.
Make sure you give a considered approach to who you're going to vote for. This is important. These are people who are going to make decisions on your behalf, so make a considered decision on how you put your numbers in those boxes. Okay?
Thanks, Steve.
One more statement over here.
Just covered some of it.
Okay.
But as a fellow ratepayer, everyone here pays rates, and our prospective councillors are standing for the local elections. I would personally ask that we exercise the right to vote, and at the same time vote for the candidates who we believe, personally, are going to provide us with the best value for our vote. Because if we don't vote correctly, will end up with the council that is not doing half of what we as the ratepayers in the community want.
I don't. I think some of the issues that were raised today, I mean, we all know the issues. I mean, roads, footpaths, a bloody toilet at Arthur Square, doctors in the town, the hospital, they're grassroots stuff that really needs some action. And these people here are the ones that are going to make a difference. They're the ones that are going to do the lobbying. They're the ones that are going to stand up and be counted. They're the ones that are going to be push the respective buttons that need to be pushed and make it happen. So those basic things, as I said, GPs, hospitals, roads, get out and talk to people, working out what 2 + 2 is. These are the people, so I think they should be congratulated, give them a round of applause for fronting up today. That's a good point. It was just mentioned that you have to be very careful, not careful, you have to be very specific as far as when your voting papers come through, that you vote for the mayor and deputy mayor. You make sure you do that as a separate on the ballot paper. So when the ballot paper comes through, make sure you fully understand how it works, but you do have to vote separately for the mayor and deputy mayor.
And they have to be elected as a council.
They have, there'll be 3 ballot papers that will come through.
3 minutes, is that okay?
Yeah.
3 minutes, no?
I'm sorry. Okay. Now, we finished a little bit early. I do thank you for this. I might ask...
There's one other thing, that mayoral candidates have to be elected as a councillor before they can take up the mayoral position.
Yes.
Same as deputy.
Okay, one thing too, before we should close, Kerry Ransley from the host here, he's been doing an excellent job with helping out with a lot of community activities, so he's put on no charge for today's activity. So, we need a bit of support, so if you go out and buy a beer and have a one-on-one, if you're most happy about that. And a little bit of help to put a couple of tables back together because they've got a dinner starting at a bit after 5. So thank you all for your attendance. It's been a great afternoon. I think it's been successful.